Okay, this video is just a quick overview about solving quadratic equations by completing the square. So this is one of the options. You can either choose to do this or to learn how to solve by factoring. This is a good choice for people who like algebra and who are pretty good at sort of doing algebraic calculations without making errors, because this is finicky. If you're a kind of person who would rather sort of play with numbers and guess and check and look for patterns and stuff, then you'd probably rather factoring. But if you'd rather do a set list of steps, this is pretty much the same every time, you just have to do it really carefully, then you'd prefer this. This is just a quick overview of what's going on. So there's 3 videos in addition to this one. This is just a little introduction. First thing you need to know is that completing the square is essentially the same as changing from general to standard form. Okay. So if we might have a quadratic equation like this that we need to solve. So again, if solving an equation means finding the values of the variables that make it true. So maybe we need to figure out what values of x make 2x squared plus 12x plus 15 equals 0. Okay. Videos 1 and 2 are actually going to show you how to change that to standard form. Okay, which is going to look like this. And by completing the square, here's the square. It's x plus 3 squared. This is useful for a couple reasons. It's useful if we're graphing it, because here we know that the vertex of this, the x value, is going to be at -3. Okay, and we could have gotten that here because it's negative b over 2a, so negative 12 over 2 times 2 is 4, so negative 12 divided by 4 is negative 3. But this is also useful because it helps us isolate x. It's surprisingly hard to isolate x in this equation. We can't just do it by rearranging because we've got this x squared and this x. We can't just sort of put all the x's together because we can't combine these because they're not like terms. So yeah, surprisingly difficult. One of the ways is by factoring, and this is another way. And everybody's going to learn how to do it with the quadratic equation. But it turns out, because people will want to take a square root of this to get rid of the x squared, which is correct. But if you take a square root, if you haven't sort of dealt with it properly, then you'll end up with square root of x in the midst of everything, and that's actually much worse. So here's the idea. The trick is to change it to standard form. So that will be the first 2 videos. And then once you've got to standard form, then you can isolate x. I skipped a bunch of steps here. So in the 3rd video, what you'll learn to do, you'll add 3 to both sides, and then divide both sides by 2, so that's where the 3 over 2 comes. And then you can take the square root. Those plus or minus we'll talk about. And then you're left with x plus 3 equals something, so you can just subtract 3 from both sides. So that'll be video 3, where we'll go through those steps. So video 1 is completing the square. If you've got a equals 1, it turns out it's trickier if you've got, say, 2x squared or something like that. But if you're just 1x squared, it's a little bit easier, so we'll do that one first. Video 2 is going to be if you've got any kind of a, other than just 1. And then video 3 is these steps here, solving once you've completed the square. Okay, there's the overview.